Okay, so going to work on this pressure washer. The complaint is it will kind of start up and then die off. I'll first kind of assess what kind of engine it is. Okay, it's like an overhead valve thing. I'm looking at this. It kind of looks like a LCT. This is probably one of these white label engines or something like that, that is designed like a Honda. It's like exactly like a Honda motor, but it's not. Here's the on-off switch. And I look here to make sure that, here's an important thing with these, because this right here, this system is part of a, what some manufacturers call a Sentry, oil Sentry system. And so this oil should be kind of filled to overflowing. It's pretty close. I'm sure that's enough oil in there. If you can see, I think that's enough for it to at least be able to run. Okay, so when that oil gets too low, it's going to trigger this little mechanism right here to basically ground the coil, and then it won't run. It won't have spark. But I know it's got spark because the guy told me it runs, and he made some kind of, it does this. And I was like, what's that, Rob? He's like, I'm like, okay, I think I know what it is. So anyways, yeah, I like asking what that sound was again. And usually they laugh. He didn't in this case. And so then I'll look in here and make sure that, okay, there's some fuel. And I smell it, and it smells like old gas that's been in there forever. So probably I'm going to get this tank off, dump that stuff out, and I brought my own known good fuel. And I tell people, you know, because most of the time, these machines, you know, 80–90% of the time, you come across something that's not running right. Carburetor issue. Okay, so here's carburetor. Probably be getting into that. So what I'll do is just start draining this fuel out. I've got a container that's a clear container that I'm going to drain it out into and see if I get a lot of water. So water contamination is a big deal. I'll get these leaves and stuff, make sure there's not a lot of stuff down in those cooling fins. But definitely priority number one is getting this old nasty gas out. Let me get on that. Okay, so it looks like right here the top cover of the air filter has got like a 10mm, and I'll be taking that off eventually. And then right here on the bottom of the float bowl, here's the carburetor, and the bottom of it's the float bowl. We have a drain, float bowl drain plug screw bolt, and then here's the screw that holds the float bowl actually onto the carburetor. So first, I'm gonna go ahead and take this off, and I have my receptacle for gas here. I'm gonna get my 10mm up on there and take that drain plug off and let it drain out. Okay, get it started. Okay, that gets it started, and then I will get the, I try not to get this old nasty stuff on my fingers, but anyway. Okay, let that drain out, and I can already see it, the ooze, the nastiness, and it's not even flowing. Really, it kind of stopped flowing after a minute. So let's make sure that the on-off, does it even have an on-off for fuel? Yeah. Okay, so there is the on-off valve, and it looks like it's fuel on. You can see that. And that lever is on, that lower lever. So I'm going to work that a few times and see if I can loosen it up. Yeah, so this stuff in here is pretty nasty. This is the fuel on-off valve. When I do that, that float should be letting that fuel flow through, but it may be so gunked up and nasty that it's just not letting anything through, because this is like fuel on. I should be getting gas coming out of the float bowl. It's not. I'm going to completely remove the float bowl plug right here. Get up in there and try to work the float with my finger. Okay, I'm gonna need a wrench for this. Okay, so I'm just gonna get here with my ratchet. I got room now. I'll take this off. It's gonna expose the float. Okay, I'm going tight on that. Expose the float itself, and I'm just kind of trying to work the float back and forth and get this thing to release. Okay, it's starting to come out now a little bit. I really didn't want to get this on my fingers. It's nasty smelling stuff. Okay, so let's see inside that float bowl. What's it look like? There is some debris. I see some chunks. Maybe. And I'm going to work this float right here. Oh, look at that stuff. Look at this stuff. It's all in there. That tank is just contaminated with some rust. Big time. Now I got a little flow now coming through there. So what I'll eventually do, it is flowing. I'm going to lean this over a little bit and let this completely drain out through the carburetor. It's going to hopefully remove any of the debris that might be in there, but it continues to flow. I'll just get it all drained out and put some fresh gas in there, and then also show you how to get up in there to the main jet and make sure it's clear. There's a possibility the emulsion tube that's up in there is blocked as well, the little passages. I'll show you how to get up in there, and if I can remove it, how to remove it and clean out the little passages. So I'm just going to put this on the ground now, lean this over so it all drains into the bucket here. Okay, what I've chosen to do here, this is going to take too long, is take these two mounting nuts off for the tank. And I think there's another one right here, down in here, that's blocked by the air cleaner. Let me get this set up to take this air cleaner cover off so I can get a better look at it. Okay. So I'm just going to take that tank off and dump it out. It'll take a lot less time. Let's see, what do we got going on here? There's cover. Oh, look. There's crap that's... Oh, man, yeah. This whole thing's got to be removed. Look at that. Just going to take a quick picture of that. And there's another mounting bolt. Looks like it's not even in there on this side, so I only got to take two of those nuts out. I'll be able to remove the tank and dump it out quicker. Got these two nuts off right here, and here, and then the other one was hiding over on this side right here, and that's all it takes to take this tank off. Get on that. I might need some kind of extension thing to get in there. I can get it. There we go. Let's get that loose. Okay. And this will just pop off now. Let's see what's underneath there. Yeah, because all this gas got to go. There's a fuel line there. So hopefully I can get up underneath that thing and pull it off real quick. Maybe I can just get it with my hand. Yep. Now, go find a receptacle to dump this. Okay, now that this is off, it really doesn't look too terrible inside. I don't know if you can see that, but it's really not too bad. Hopefully you can see down in there. I don't see a lot of debris. I really don't. And I shook it out as good as I could. Try to get all the residual out. Then I'll take some carb cleaner and get down in there. Okay, with some, so I got some brake clean here, same stuff. Brake clean, carburetor cleaner, starter fluid, whatever's cheap, and slosh this around in here a little bit. then I like to, on that parts list will be probably when you get some forceps. These are really great, handy to use in the small engine repair stuff. That'll be in the list that you can download by going to the description below. And I was doing this for a lady the other day, not on a power washer, but just on a regular mower, and she liked my work shoes. She thought they were funny. Wearing dress shoes. They're actually Echo shoes, some of my favorite, and they had great tread on them. Soles doing pretty good, and they were $5. So I bought them the other day just as work shoes. Better than boots, cooler. Alright, a lot of times I'm using a paper towel this time, which I don't really like to. Unfortunately, I forgot my compressor today, so I just got to do my best with what I got. A compressor is actually not on the list, but man, it's really nice to have, and it's something that can be very portable. Get a little 3-gallon compressor, and you could do pretty much anything except for reseat beads on tractor tires, which for a lot of tire work I'll just go to take stuff to a tire shop. But anyway, that's for another video. And I'll take this nasty fuel soaked rag and kind of get some of this dirt off. Just a quick get the dirt out of their thing. Now what's cool about this tank, if there is anything cool about it, it's metal. That's not cool because it can rust. It's already showing some signs of rusting in there. It's not terrible, but there's a standoff tube down in there. You probably can't see it, but it's not all the way on the bottom. It actually comes up off of the bottom a little bit, so it's not sucking dirt right from the bottom of the tank if you get dirt in there. And most of the time these things have like dirt screens, that little cups that are screen material before you put the final cap on there. Okay, so now we're going to take off this carburetor. Got this kind of cleaned out, let it air out. Probably squirt a little more Wonder Juice in there and let it evaporate, just to dry out any moisture that might be in there. That's going to help evaporate it. Slosh it around a little bit and it'll probably just go away and evaporate, but that's just going to help clean up any of that moisture. Okay. So what I'll do next here is take off this carburetor. Keep in mind, okay, you have a link going to the governor right here that goes to the throttle plate on the carburetor eventually. And all that's really holding this sucker on, it looks like, are these two nuts. Oops, I'm gonna go loose. Okay, get this out of the way so I don't drop anything in there. Already got leaves and stuff in there. Okay. Cool. Get these off. And that comes off. Remember to put your breather, the little recirculation tube, get that back in the rocker cover. Don't forget about that when you're putting this back together, and it goes on the back side of this air cleaner cover right there. Alright, we're going to spray and shake out any spider nests and things like that before we put it back on. And you might get lucky with these carburetors right here. Okay, make note of this as it comes off, what orientation that is in. See that slot right there in the upper right corner aligns with this big hole right here, so that's a good clue on how to get it back on there. So I don't really need it. I've done this stuff a lot. And with these, you can, looks like I'm going to be able to get lucky. Sometimes you can get lucky and line this little slot up, so you got to take this governor link up off of there. So you got to turn it first this way, and then you can slide it up and out. See, it came out really easy. And now you have this little tiny spring in this hole right here. You got to take this out. All right, and make sure when you're doing this, you don't detach it from the governor arm and either one of those links. And then this is going to go ahead and slide out. Now you'll see the where the main fuel jet is. Okay. Oh yeah, and sometimes this choke arm likes to come off, just falls off, goes right over this post here, and the little tang for it fits down in there, goes back together pretty easy like that. Just like this. See right here, the little pin right there, and then it just slides over here and right back into that slot, just like that. Okay, so we'll put that back on before we reassemble everything. Now I have hopefully just the right size screwdriver to get down, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's a slot in there. Let's get it in some light, kind of staying out of the sun because it's going to be like 100 degrees today. Down in there you can see a slot, hopefully. Maybe even better in the shade, I don't know. There's a slotted jet that's down there. All right, so we know we got fuel flow through this. It was flowing eventually, but I'll blow on this and make sure that I'm getting air passing through here. Then I turn it upside down again, and I'll blow on that hose again, and it shouldn't allow air to pass. So if it's not allowing air to pass, it's definitely not going to allow the fluid to pass. I just blow on that with my mouth. I wipe it off first. So when you flip it upside down, you blow, it stops it, and then when the float is down position like that, it should flow when you blow through it, and that's like a little test you can do. So right now we're going to make sure that the main jet is clear and clean, and the emulsion tube, if I can get it out. Okay, so we're going to get right down in here, and here is just the perfect size screwdriver that I use pretty much exclusively for this purpose. Pretty universal to get these main jets out of these carburetors. Now this is a critical time, okay, and if you have some PB Blast or WD-40, you might want to squirt a few drops down in there and wait about 5 minutes, because you don't want to screw this up. You want to get the screwdriver in here, make sure that the blade fits like perfectly, as perfectly as you can, in the slot right there for the screwdriver. That's the main jet that you're on right now, and I'm gonna grab this very carefully and tightly, the carburetor body, and then try to loosen it. Okay, I got it. You don't want to screw this up, because if you strip that slotted main jet, the carburetor's just pretty much toast, and you're gonna have to go ahead and replace it. But thanks to China, we can get these for about 15 bucks or even less. If you do screw it up, you just gotta wait a couple days. All right, and I'm taking this jet out. There it is, there's the main jet. There's a hole that goes through the jet. Have yourself a wire. Okay, that looks nice and clean. And then what I'll also do, I'll put this to the side. Careful with these carburetor parts, a lot of small parts. I will try to tap out the metering jet. Okay, and that is, I'll show you here. I'm going to tap it on like a hard surface here, right here. Move this up a little bit, and you got to be kind of gentle, and this hopefully will fall out. You might want to take your float out first, and that's by removing this pin, and then the float and the needle all together there like that. And we'll go ahead and spray that stuff down. Okay, don't lose that pin. A lot of small parts, like I said. Okay, and if you look down inside of there, that's the bottom part of the emulsion tube. The emulsion tube is that you may be able to see the silver, or I'm sorry, it's a gold tube that's down inside of there. It's a gold tube. That's the top of the emulsion tube, and that's the bottom of it. And we're going to try to tap it out. gently. There, it came out. Okay, and just remember when you're putting it back together, the skinnier end of the tube goes up into the carburetor first, followed by your main jet. Now, if you look closely, this emulsion tube, and this is for most all carburetors, okay, this is 90+% of the problem most of the time. It's these main jets are clogged, emulsion tube, and just fuel contamination with water and debris. Okay, if you look closely at this emulsion tube, it's got a bunch of micro holes in there. I might not be able to focus on this. There it is. See those little micro holes? So this one looks like it's got 10. That's like 22 micro holes. So there's 5, 6. So that's 12. And then there's 5 on that one. So yeah, it's like 22 holes that you got to take a little wire and you got to get through every one of those little holes and make sure they're clear. And then when you do, you can hold it up to some light and make sure that they're all clear, and then blow it out with some compressed air if you got it. So I'm just going to clean those little holes out, as well as the main jet here, making sure that the hole through there is clear. But I can see through this really nice. That's nice and clean, and I'll just blow it out with some of that brake cleaner and we should be good to go. I'm going to clean all that stuff up, put it back together in reverse order, get this carburetor back on there, put the tank on, try to fire it up. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you might want to take this off, this little screw here. I don't know what it does actually. It's part of the carbitration system. And this little plug off here, squirt a little Wonder Juice down in there, clean it out, and make sure that there's nothing that I see a little lacquer nastiness down in there, and now it's kind of clean. Okay, and then with your spray and with your compressor, just hit any holes that you see here. Just hit them real quick. I'll hit the seat that the needle sits down on, and pull, pull, pull. Good to go. And now I gotta wash my hands and get this toxic stuff off of it. Also on these floats, if you have excessive buildup of this lacquer stuff or whatever, you know, this dried up gas that builds up, it actually adds weight to this float, so it doesn't float as good if it's heavier, right? So you want to go ahead and get this off. If you spray it down real good with carburetor cleaner or brake clean, you'll be able to wipe that stuff off pretty easily. Just make sure it's nice and clean before you install it back in there. And when you're using that brake clean, carburetor spray, whatever, use it sparingly around these plastic and rubber parts, like the needle itself down at the bottom there, it's attached right there. On the needle end of it, it's actually rubber. And so if you start using too much of that carburetor cleaner and you don't spray it off real quick and clean it off, dry it off real quick, it'll start to make it expand, and then your float is not going to work as properly as it should. Just keep that in mind. Okay, this is almost back together now. Just got to put the emulsion tube in there and the main jet. So here's how the emulsion tube goes in, and then the main jet. There's only one way it can go in, so that you can screw it back in, slot it end to the bottom. So what you're looking at here is the bottom of the carburetor, and get it back in there nice and easy, making sure not to strip the flathead slot. Okay, and a little nice torque turn. Okay, about ready to fire it back up. I just got new fuel in there, and earlier I just want to make a correction. I was going on-off fuel for this right here, the on-off valve. This particular carburetor does not have on-off for the fuel. It's just straight line to the float. So you're going to find out real quick after putting gas in here if that float's working properly. That's the only thing that's keeping fuel from just like rushing into the engine if it overflows, is the float, the needle and seat. So it's not the best setup, and but that's the way it is. This is just for the choke. I think I was showing on-off lever earlier. I was using it as a fuel on-off lever, but it's not. So it's just the choke, and that's it. So I got fuel in there, new gas, getting ready to fire it up. So I'm getting ready to turn the water on. Want to always make sure that the water gets turned on before you try to fire this thing up. Switch to the on position. Let me turn the water on and give it a shot. Okay, got water on, and it should be going into and coming out of this right here. It should be. I don't see it though. And this, I'm not familiar with this nozzle right here. There it goes. Yeah, had to open up that nozzle right there. That's a little shut off. I kind of like that feature. So it's coming out. It doesn't seem to be coming out very forcefully though, but it is coming through the pump. So you always want to make sure that water is coming through that pump before you fire it up. Before I turn the switch to the on position, actually, what I like to do, if it hasn't been running a while, I'll go ahead and pull it a couple times in the off, kind of prime it up. And I got the choke on, switch on, see if it fires up. Make sure to go down in the link in the description to download my most often used tools that work on over 90% of the jobs with small engines. Have a good one.